Any piece of media that goes from this to this automatically earns a 5-star review from me and must be protected at all costs. Haunted Hotel, released in September of 2025, is Netflix's latest supernatural comedy fever dream, created by none other than Matt Roller, the same guy who cooked up Rick and Morty. So yeah, expect nothing but weirdness, chaos, and probably some emotional damage all in one sitting. The show centers around the Freeling family. There's Catherine, a single mom struggling to keep her barely functioning hotel alive. There's Nathan, her brother who helps her out as best as he can even though he's just a ghost. Then there's Abadon, a demon child straight from the pit of hell. Finally, we have the fun-loving Ben and his voodoo-loving sister Esther. The story is a beautiful mix of the supernatural, horror, and comedy, and I can't wait to unpack all of it. So clench your butts, check under your bed for ghouls, and let's dive into the entire story of Haunted Hotel so far. Episode 1 is called Welcome to the Undervil. The story begins in the Undervil Hotel, a remote vacation spot crawling with ghosts and demons. Well, mostly ghosts. There's Angela, a ghost who won't stop screaming, then Stabby Paul, who likes to stab people. There's Jessica the demon, whose hobby is to drag people across the floor, and for some reason, there's a mirror in the lobby that just won't stop bleeding. Running this madhouse is Catherine Freeling, a single mom trying to keep her sanity while managing the hotel with her ghost brother Nathan, who supposedly died by choking on a whole grape. Catherine's also raising her 2 kids, Ben and Esther, who have grown up surrounded by ghosts to the point where it's just normal for them. Oh, and let's not forget Catherine's ward, Abadon, a demon from the 1700s who's been trapped in the body of a little boy. The real struggle for Catherine is that the ghosts won't stay put. They wander around, scare away guests, and argue about what to watch on TV like it's their full-time job. Catherine's trying to run a business here, but it's hard to keep rooms booked when your guests keep getting chased by dead people. Meanwhile, Esther and Abadon have their own little side hustle going. They're after Annabelle, another ghost who died wearing a diamond necklace. Esther wants to pawn the diamond for cash, and Abadon wants Annabelle's bones for some mysterious demon ritual. To pull this off, Esther ropes her brother Ben into seducing Annabelle so she'll spill where her body's buried. But there's a twist. Ben actually falls for her. She also reveals that Ben's a soul conduit, meaning he can connect the living world and the ghost world. Keep in mind, because it's about to come in handy. Eventually, Catherine reaches her breaking point. She's done with the ghosts taking over her hotel, so she bans them from roaming around and confines them to the attic. The ghosts aren't happy about this, of course, and they boo Catherine during a town hall meeting that's meant to resolve any pending issues. Left with no other choice, Catherine invokes the nuclear option. She hires an exorcist named Jesmeralda. Jesmeralda is confident, powerful, and a little too eager to swing her magic around. She starts banishing every ghost in the hotel straight into the ghost world, aka the void. Nathan tries to talk her out of it, but as a ghost himself, his vote doesn't count for much. Jesmeralda explains that there's a whole supernatural food chain. Ghosts boss around demons, demons mess with humans, and humans with the right tools can control ghosts. Nathan, feeling guilty about being separated from fellow ghosts and thinking that he's kind of a burden on his sister, volunteers to go into the void as well. But Jesmeralda doesn't stop there. For reasons best known to her, she summons a powerful demon named Mortoth to take over the hotel. When that goes terribly wrong, Mortoth immediately turns on her, and Jesmeralda realizes she's in way over her head.
Where's the loyalty? Focus!
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. She tells Catherine that the only way to stop Mortoth now is to bring the ghosts back, and the only person who can do that is a soul conduit. That's right, it's Ben's moment to shine. Mortoth takes out Jesmeralda, but Esther uses a charm to quickly activate Ben's conduit powers. Suddenly, all the ghosts come rushing back from the void, Nathan included. After striking a deal, they'll help fight the demon, but only if they get reign of the hotel again. Oh, and TV privileges. In the chaos, Mortoth finds Annabelle's hidden body and snatches her diamond necklace. But before he can do anything else, the ghosts gang up on him and send him packing to wherever he came from. With Mortoth gone, the Undervale Hotel goes right back to its old haunted self. Ghosts lounging around, demons lurking in corners, and Catherine just trying to keep it together. A solid setup episode. The next episode is called Unfinished Business. Catherine's got her hands full running a haunted hotel, but now she's dealing with a new problem. Her daughter Esther's new bestie Phoebe. And not just any friend. She's a rebellious ghost with a hatchet stuck in her head. Yeah, not exactly the kind of role model most parents dream about. We also learned something pretty important about ghosts. They're not just hanging around for fun. Each one has what's called unfinished business. Basically, there's something they didn't get to do while they were alive, and until they make peace with it, they can't move on. Once they do wrap up the unfinished business, poof, they disappear into the void for good. Catherine, being the responsible mom that she is, wants Esther to make friends with living girls her own age, but she also decides to figure out what Phoebe's unfinished business is by asking her some personal questions, hoping she can help her move on and stop hanging around her daughter. Meanwhile, weird things are happening at the hotel. The electricity keeps flickering on and off. So Nathan, Ben, and Abadon head out into the woods to check the old water mill that powers the place. Of course, it's never just a regular water mill. It's home to some kind of horrifying monster. The moment it spots them, it starts chasing them like it's been waiting all day for this. Nathan tries to play the hero, but it doesn't go so well. Thankfully, the ghost of the old watermill keeper, Josiah Banquist, shows up and helps them escape. Why? Apparently, Josiah's got some personal beef with the monster. Just like the old saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is, you know the drill. Back at the hotel, Phoebe realizes Catherine's been asking her all those personal questions just to uncover her unfinished business. So she flips the script and starts digging into Catherine's life instead. Catherine admits she's scared of heights and that her unfinished business, if she had one, would be overcoming that fear. Just to be clear, nothing really counts as an unfinished business if you're still alive, but Phoebe is cooking up something nasty. She drags Catherine up to the roof, claiming she's going to help her face her fear of heights. But surprise, Phoebe's real plan is to scare Catherine off the roof so she can fall to her death and become a ghost too. What a psycho. Thankfully, Esther shows up just in time. She's been practicing a few magic tricks and convinces her mom to jump into one of her enchanted paintings. Catherine leaps. The painting swallows her up and she lands safely on a couch inside the hotel. Perfect landing, I must say. But Phoebe still has the guts to show her face. She invites Esther to join her for some fun ghost stuff, like jumping in front of oncoming cars. Esther's had enough though. She pulls out a shawl that used to belong to Phoebe's sister, something the sister borrowed and never gave back. The moment Phoebe sees it, she gasps and vanishes into the void. Turns out her unfinished business was just getting that shawl back. Honestly, I was expecting her unfinished business to be, I don't know, finding the culprit who buried a hatchet in her skull, but hey, all is well that ends well. The next episode, titled Randy Slasher, begins with Catherine trying to get back into the dating game. And yeah, it's going about as smoothly as a car without brakes. She's completely freaking out because this is her first date since her divorce, and she's convinced she's forgotten how to interact with men. But after some awkward small talk with her date Joel and enough nervous laughter, things start to click. By the end of the night, she and Joel actually hit it off, and for the first time in a long while, Catherine starts to think maybe romance isn't totally off the table. Back at the Undervil hotel, Ben has his own big night planned out. He's invited the so-called cool kids from school over for a party, hoping this will finally get him accepted into their exclusive teenage clique. Unfortunately, his little party gets the attention of the worst possible guest, the pillowcase killer, or PK for short. PK is an immortal slasher who hunts down anyone he catches kissing or doing anything remotely romantic. PK storms the hotel armed with his weapon of choice, a rake, and immediately goes after Nathan. But since Nathan's a ghost, the attack is about as effective as swinging at smoke. Instead of fighting back, Nathan decides to talk it out, trying to convince PK to let go of his violent ways. But therapy is not going to solve this problem. Meanwhile, Ben, Esther, and Abadon scramble to get the other kids to safety before PK starts raking through the guest list. Things escalate quickly when Catherine and Joel return to the hotel, ready for some alone time. Completely unaware that a slasher is on the loose, Esther walks in on her mom in bed with Joel, and the sight leaves her horrified. The look on her face triggers something deep in PK's twisted psyche. He flashes back to the night he caught his own mother with a man, which ended with him picking up a rake and starting his lifelong war against public displays of affection. In a bizarrely emotional moment, PK looks at Esther like he's looking at his younger self. He hands her his rake as if silently telling her it's okay to take revenge for witnessing that trauma, before getting thrown out of a window and vanishing into the night. Catherine awkwardly apologizes to Esther for traumatizing her, and Ben realizes he's still not getting into the cool kids club anytime soon. The next episode, How to Train Your Demon, isn't a high stakes as the last one. This time, the spotlight is on Abadon, the chaotic demon trapped in the body of a little boy. When Catherine returns home only to find that he's trashed the hotel during one of his rampages, she decides it's time for some proper discipline. Her solution is to take him out into town and teach him how to act like a normal member of society. Yeah, good luck with that. For starters, Catherine gives him a little pep talk about behaving and blending in, but the moment they reach a children's park, it all falls apart. After a few seconds of playing with Abadon, the kids start screaming and running for their lives. The adults recognize him too. Apparently, this isn't his first time causing public mayhem. Catherine has to drag him out of there before the situation gets worse. Back at the hotel, she decides to try a different approach. Maybe she thinks she can redirect his destructive energy into something more productive. So she puts him to work doing chores, like throwing dirty clothes into the washing machine. To motivate him, she tells him to torture the stains. Unfortunately, Abadon takes that way too literally and ends up demolishing the washing machine. Catherine's patience is officially gonzo. Abadon says it's not his fault he's bound to a human body in a place he despises. Now fed up, Catherine tells him that if he hates living in the hotel so much, he should just leave. But for once, Abadon drops the attitude. He tells her he can't leave, because if he does, hell might come for him. That may sound like a bad thing, but it's really not. Our demon ward explains everything. A long time ago, Abadon was a gatekeeper in hell. His job was to decide who got tortured and who didn't. But after a few thousand years of that, he got sent to Earth to wreak havoc. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. He possessed a little boy, not realizing the kid's father was a powerful priest. The priest trapped Abadon's spirit inside the boy's body, stripping away all of his powers. When the priest tried to perform an exorcism and destroy him, Abadon panicked and shoved him off a cliff. Ever since, he's been stuck, half human, half demon, and completely miserable. And to make matters worse, the Undervil Hotel just happens to be located around the exact spot where he lost his powers. So he's been waiting all this time, hoping that one day hell might come to reclaim him. By the end of it all, Catherine realizes that Abadon isn't just a little petulant monster. He's a tired old demon who just wants to go home. She wanted to train him to behave, but maybe what he really needs is that pesky little thing we humans call patience. The next episode, Raleigh Fluffs, is a not-so-friendly reminder that looks can be deceiving. It begins with Esther finding these adorable little creatures she calls Raleigh Fluffs. They look like the kind of plush toys kids beg for at Christmas. Soft, round, and incredibly cute. Naturally, Esther sees this as her golden ticket to popularity. She starts handing them out to classmates, and for a brief, glorious moment, she's finally the cool kid. But as any horror fan knows, if something looks that cute, it's probably plotting her downfall. Meanwhile, over at the Undervil Hotel, Catherine's going through a bit of an existential crisis. She's convinced the hotel's lack of financial success is her fault, not the ghosts, not the remote location, hers. So she decides to take action by redecorating the honeymoon suite. During renovation, things start to get romantic. The room develops an actual crush on her. Yeah, the walls start communicating their affection through the TV like some kind of creepy lovesick Alexa. Soon enough, the wardrobe opens to reveal a sparkling bridal gown. What am I watching here? Catherine tries to be gentle about rejecting the advances. She's clearly not into long-term relationships with drywall. But the room doesn't take it very well. Lights start flickering, objects get tossed around, and before long, Catherine is in a full-blown breakup scene with an angry hotel room. Eventually, she yells that she's done taking the blame for everything that goes wrong. And somehow, that's what finally gets the room to chill. I mean, how would that scene have worked if Catherine had said yes? May the room kiss the bride. I digress. Back at school, Esther's little popularity boosters start showing their true colors. Turns out these Raleigh Fluffs aren't cute companions, they're parasitic demons that possess their owners. Soon, half the school is acting like extras from The Exorcist, including poor Ben, who's now got one of these things steering his body like a rental car. Luckily, every monster has a weakness. And for these creatures, it's the harmonica, because nothing says demon exorcism like aggressively bad harmonica music. Esther grabs Ben's harmonica, teams up with her friend Heather, and blasts harmonica sounds all over the school intercom. The Raleigh Fluffs screech, fly out of everyone's body, and yeet themselves off to another town to continue their reign of terror. By the end, Esther realizes she doesn't need cute things to be liked. She's already got a real friend in Heather. Oh, and remember kids, avoid any creature that looks too cute to be true. The next episode, titled Ghost Hunters, kicks off with Catherine once again trying to put the Undervil Hotel on the map. Her big idea this time is to invite a pair of online paranormal investigators, Lonnie and Jib, to film their next ghost hunting episode at the hotel. To make things professional, Catherine organizes auditions for the resident ghosts who want to appear on camera. It starts out positive. But then she turns into a full-blown casting director, setting strict rules and acting like she's running America's Got Talent Ghosts Edition. The spirits are not amused. In fact, they're offended enough to boycott the entire production. So much for Team Spirit. Nathan isn't any help either. He refuses to appear on camera because he's got stage fright. Yes, a ghost who's afraid of being seen. Instead, he spends his time grilling Catherine about an email she sent him after he died. She brushes it off, saying it was nothing important, but the truth eventually comes out. It was a full-blown venting session. After Nathan died, Catherine basically used her brother's inbox to complain about everything he ever did wrong, like leaving her a dying parrot before heading to college and only visiting her when he needed money. It's not a good look, but she tries to defend herself, saying it was her way of coping with grief, which is a pretty solid excuse when you think about it. Meanwhile, Lonnie and Jib are starting to realize the Undervil isn't exactly prime haunting material. No spooky activity, no screaming guests, just a mildly depressing hotel with a bad Yelp rating. They're ready to call it quits until Catherine casually mentions the Forbidden Wing, a part of the hotel so haunted that even the ghosts avoid it. Naturally, the duo hopes this isn't clickbait and head straight in. Big mistake. They come face to face with a massive anglerfish monster that feeds on people's memories. In the end, Lonnie and Jib stumble out of the wing with no memories. Even their video footage has been erased thanks to the monster slurping up all the data. The ghost hunters leave the hotel with no clue why they're holding ghost hunting gear. So much for YouTube glory. Back in the lobby, Catherine decides to make peace with Nathan by rewriting that infamous email, this time saying genuinely nice things about him. It's a sweet gesture, until Nathan invites every ghost in the hotel to listen in. Catherine has to sit there and cringe, wishing she could just vanish through the floorboards. The hotel might not have gone viral, but Catherine and Nathan do share a weirdly touching sibling moment, and hey, in Undervil terms, that's practically a happy ending. The next episode is titled 7 Deadly Bends, and yeah, this one is exactly as chaotic as it sounds. We start off with the repairman doing the world's worst job on the hotel's front door. The door is barely hanging on its hinges, but when he confidently tells Ben, "Don't worry, it'll fix itself," the kid actually believes him and pays up. Catherine sees this and tells Ben to start being more confident and have the backbone to call out scam artists like the repairman. Unfortunately, Stabby Paul overhears this lecture and dramatically whispers to the kid that his mom is brutal. Why? Because she basically stabbed Ben's existence by implying he wasn't confident enough. It's a weirdly funny thing to hear from a guy named Stabby Paul, but it gets in Ben's head. Determined to prove he's got confidence, Ben decides to enter one of the hotel's haunted guest rooms. Inside, he discovers a mysterious wardrobe that, instead of leading to Narnia, spits out a super confident version of Ben. Classic Ben freaks out, because who wouldn't when a smug copy of herself walks out of a closet? But after the initial panic, he starts getting used to having confident Ben around. Meanwhile, on the ghostly side of things, Nathan has a serious problem. He keeps sinking through the floor. Like, one minute he's standing in the lobby, the next he's halfway through the basement tiles. He meets up with his ghost therapist, Frederick, who tells him it's because he's losing his sense of purpose. Apparently, ghosts who lose all meaning start slowly sinking down to the earth's core, where their souls get shredded like old receipts. So yeah, that's terrifying. Nathan, desperate not to become ghost confetti, teams up with Esther to figure out what gives him meaning. They ask other ghosts, but nobody's much help. Eventually, Nathan sinks all the way down to the core and sees another ghost getting ripped apart like tomatoes in a blender. Panicking, he starts blurting out random things that make him happy, until he mentions spaghetti nights, a reference to family dinners he used to have with Catherine and their parents. That memory hits home, and boom, he's suddenly flung back to the Earth's surface. Turns out spaghetti saved his soul. Back in the hotel, things are getting out of hand. The magic wardrobe now has produced 7 versions of Ben, each one representing a different part of his personality, like a hormonal Avengers lineup. Catherine, for some reason, welcomes them all and starts enjoying their company, which makes the original Ben feel like the least popular Ben at his own family reunion. Soon, the other Bens decide to fix the problem by getting rid of classic Ben entirely. Catherine steps in to protect her son, from himself technically, but the situation turns into a full-on Ben battle royale. They discover that stabbing one Ben hurts them all, which means they're not separate people, just different sides of the same being. Existential crisis, anyone? Catherine finally apologizes for making her son feel like he wasn't confident enough, and Ben realizes he just needs to be himself, insecurities and all. So he unites with his other selves, steps into the magic wardrobe, and comes back out as one whole Ben again. Hopefully he's now a little smarter about door repair scams. Our next episode is called Aunt Rose, and it's basically about that one family member who could suck the joy out of a rainbow. Enter Aunt Rose, Nathan and Catherine's judgmental, nasty, a medically fragile aunt. She moves into the Undervil hotel for health reasons, but it's pretty clear her real ailment is being chronically unpleasant. Within 5 minutes, she's already criticizing the decor, the ghosts, and probably the air molecules for not trying hard enough. It doesn't take her long to learn about the hotel's biggest secret. Anyone who dies on the property gets a free afterlife membership as a ghost. And of course, Rose decides that's exactly what she wants, to die in the hotel so she can haunt everyone for eternity. The entire family goes into panic mode because nobody, absolutely nobody, wants to deal with Aunt Rose's ghost. Nathan's especially horrified. The idea of spending eternity with that woman makes him want to exorcise himself. Meanwhile, Esther's off on her own little misadventure. She's got school trouble and decides the best way to get out of it is black magic. She uses one of her charms to resurrect a zombie named Dan to pose as her dad and get the principal off her back. The plan works, but Ben's understandably concerned. He tells her not to get too attached to a corpse. Esther ignores him and locks Dan up in a cave like she's saving him for later. But Ben, in a rare moment of brotherly rebellion, secretly frees the poor zombie. Zombie Dan stumbles his way to the hotel and kidnaps Aunt Rose, dragging her into the cave. His limbs are falling off one by one, but he's committed. Catherine and Nathan chase after him, but the moment Nathan reaches a certain distance, an invisible barrier stops him from going further. Turns out, ghosts can't go too far from home base, so he tells Catherine to just let Aunt Rose go. Because honestly, if Rose dies outside the Undervil property, she won't come back as a ghost. Something everyone approves of. Catherine thinks about it, really thinks about it, but in the end, her better nature wins. Aunt Rose is still family, so she saves her. Somewhere in the cave, Dan's body has completely given up. His limbs are completely cooked. He's just a head and a torso at this point. Esther tries desperately to bring him back in one piece, but nothing works. Ben finally gets through to her and she admits the truth. She was using Dan as a replacement for her dad. The real dad never answers her calls and only reacts to her messages with a lazy thumbs up emoji. Ben gently tells her that while he gets it, maybe don't do that again. Esther tearfully lets Dan go, and he finally turns to dust. Rip zombie dead. As for Aunt Rose, oh, she does die, but not before dropping one last bombshell. She says the necklace Catherine's been wearing since childhood, she bought for her on her 5th birthday for a really petty reason. Aunt Rose bought it just to beat Catherine's mom to the punch and make the woman feel like a bad mother. Who does that? Catherine is officially done with this woman. Aunt Rose dies, comes back as a ghost because of course she does, and immediately starts mocking Catherine and Nathan, gloating that she's finally gotten to see the look of defeat on their faces. And just like that, poof, she disappears. Turns out that was her unfinished business all along, making her family miserable one last time. So yeah, Aunt Rose may be gone, but her legacy of pettiness, eternal. The next episode is called The Esthercist, and it starts off with Nathan being all cheerful because it's his death day. Yep, the anniversary of the day he died. He wants to celebrate it, but Catherine's not in the mood. She calls it the worst day of her life, which makes sense since it's literally the day she lost her brother. Meanwhile, Esther, being Esther, accidentally breaks a cursed snow globe that she was fiddling with earlier. You'd think she would have learned by now that nothing good ever comes from black magic. This thing is apparently a supernatural Airbnb for demons because the moment it cracks, the hotel turns into a full-blown horror movie. Dark energy, creepy whispers, doors slamming, and all that jazz. Everyone rushes into a room and Esther seals the entrance with a protective barrier of salt. Abadon, who's technically a demon himself but happens to be on our side, volunteers to go get the ingredients for a banishing charm. This special charm is supposed to drive all the demons away. But wait, didn't we already learn that the ghosts are supposed to be at the top of the supernatural food chain? It's not really explained, but these demons are wrecking all the resident ghosts like crazy. And unfortunately, one sneaky demon slips past the salt line and possesses Esther, which is really bad news, because she's the one person who actually understands all the spooky magic stuff. Now the demon's using her body to stir chaos and spill everyone's dirtiest secrets. Catherine, Nathan, and Ben start turning on each other, and then the truth about Nathan's death finally drops, causing the most awkward silence since the start of this show.
There were no grapes. You killed yourself.
Remember how Catherine told Nathan he died choking on a whole grape? Yeah, that was a lie. The real story is much darker. Nathan actually took his own life. Since he didn't remember his cause of death, Catherine fed him the grape story. We don't really hear why Nathan unalived himself, but suddenly it makes perfect sense why Catherine couldn't bring herself to celebrate his death day. It's not just sad, it's the guilt that comes with it. But there's no time to unpack all that emotional baggage, because suddenly Ben gets possessed by a demon, then Catherine. At this point, the hotel is cooked for real. Abadon's the only one not possessed. perks of already being a demon, of course, and he races to fix the broken snow globe before things get completely out of hand. Outside, the demon-possessed freelings and even a poor mailman who showed up at the wrong time are being dragged toward the river, where they're about to be drowned. But Abadon manages to repair the snow globe just in time, sucking the demons back inside and saving everyone. By the end, the whole family is exhausted, traumatized, and probably rethinking their life and afterlife choices. Nathan realizes maybe a death day isn't something to celebrate, especially when it almost turns into a group exorcism. The last episode is called The Acolytes of Abadon, and it starts off with Abadon and Esther doing what they do best, messing with things that really shouldn't. This time, it's some mysterious ancient relic that can supposedly send stuff all the way back to the dawn of time. Before anyone can figure out what the relic actually does, a huge group of robed weirdos suddenly show up at the Undervil hotel. They introduce themselves as a cult that worships our favorite demon, Abadon. Naturally, this makes him beam with pride. Finally, people who get him. The cult leader, Todd, had already told Catherine that they'll pay for their stay, which is really all she needed to hear. The cult's plan involves performing a ritual to send Abadon back to hell and restore his full demonic powers. Esther isn't thrilled, mostly because she's about to lose her friend to a bunch of spooky cult members, but Abadon's way too into the whole being adored by followers thing to notice. The rest of the family starts to warm up to the cult too, thinking, hey, maybe this isn't so bad. Then they find out the ritual requires a human sacrifice. And surprisingly, Todd, the cult leader, is the one on the chopping block. One of the cultists stabs him, and all hell literally breaks loose. The ground starts cracking. Fire and lava burst through the floor, and the hotel begins collapsing in flames. It's basically the apocalypse. As lava floods the place, Catherine, Nathan, Ben, and Esther run for their lives. But it's no use. Nathan falls first, then Catherine, then Ben. By the time Abadon shows up with his demonic powers, everyone he cares about is gone. Esther, in tears, begs him to fix everything before she too falls in the lava. It's a gut punch of a moment. Desperate, Abadon grabs the time travel relic and cracks it all the way back to the beginning of time. He zips through history, dinosaurs, medieval knights, the Industrial Revolution, until he lands right before everything went to hell. He tries to stop the apocalypse by stabbing Todd himself, thinking that'll change things. But nope, the world still comes to an end and everyone dies. So he goes back again, and again, and again. Every time he messes up, he resets like a frustrated gamer hitting the reload button after a final boss fight gone wrong. Eventually, he figures it out. He has to stop the cultists from even entering inside the hotel. He storms their bus and attacks them with a shovel, scaring the living daylights out of them and sends them running for their lives. In the end, Abadon doesn't get his powers back, but at this point, he doesn't care. He's chosen his weird, dysfunctional little family over all the powers in the world, and it's quite heartwarming. And that's the end of our recap. But wait, there's more. Season 2 has already been greenlit, so expect more supernatural adventures in the not-so-distant future. Haunted Hotel is what happens when you shove a ghost, a demon, a single mom, and her kids under one roof, and damn is it fun to watch. And can we talk about Abadon and how he ends up saving the day? Our favorite demon may have lost his power, but being powerless with the right people always beats being all-powerful and lonely as hell. The Undervil Hotel may still be a mess, but the message of sticking together as a family really ties everything up nicely. Hope you guys enjoyed it, because I sure did. Let me know what you think in the comments. As usual, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.